Kennedy's taxi pulled up to the compound gate on a sunny Saturday afternoon. Sandra sat beside him, her hand resting on his thigh, both of them tanned and relaxed from 2 weeks in Zanzibar. But the gate was chained shut. Wendy stood on the other side, dressed in an elegant black dress, her makeup perfect, her expression unreadable. Behind her, the compound was filled with people. Neighbors, extended family members, church elders, business associates. A large projector screen stood prominently in the center of the compound. "Wendy, open the gate," Kennedy called out, irritation creeping into his voice. Wendy smiled. A cold, calculated smile that made Kennedy's stomach tighten. "Welcome home, Kennedy. And Sandra, so lovely to finally meet you properly." She gestured to the crowd. "I thought we should all get acquainted. Please, everyone, let me introduce you to my husband and his mistress." Kennedy's face paled. Sandra shifted uncomfortably. "Before you enter," Wendy continued, her voice steady and clear, "let me tell you what happened while you were enjoying paradise." She clicked a remote. The screen lit up with hotel receipts, intimate photographs, text messages. "While you two were in Zanzibar, my mother, the woman who loved you like a son, Kennedy, died of a heart attack. I called you 147 times. You blocked my number." The crowd erupted in shocked murmurs. Kennedy's legs went weak. "Mama Elizabeth." "No." Wendy's eyes hardened. "Oh yes. And now everyone here is going to learn exactly who you really are. Before we continue, let me ask you something quietly. Where are you listening from right now? And what time is it in your part of the world? Some of us are hearing this story under the hot afternoon sun. Some in the calm of the night, when thoughts are heavy and hearts are open. Different places, one story, one lesson. If stories like this speak to your heart, please subscribe to the channel. Your like helps this story reach another soul. Your comment tells me you understand the lesson. And when you share, you may be saving someone from the same mistake. Now let us continue. 8 months earlier, Kennedy and Wendy Badmus were the envy of their Lagos community. 12 years of marriage had built more than just a home. It had built an empire. Their export business, Badmus Global Ventures, was thriving. Wendy managed operations with precision and grace, while Kennedy charmed clients and closed deals with his natural charisma. They lived in a beautiful compound in Lekki Phase 1, where Wendy's widowed mother, Mama Elizabeth, had lived with them for the past 7 years. The elderly woman had been their anchor, cooking Sunday meals, offering wisdom, and treating Kennedy like the son she never had. "You found a good man," Mama Elizabeth often told Wendy. "Kennedy has a good heart." Wendy believed it. Everyone did. But something shifted when Kennedy hired Sandra Okoro as their new client relations officer. At 28, Sandra was ambitious, attractive, and eager to please. Kennedy claimed she was perfect for the role. Young enough to work hard, smart enough to handle difficult clients. "She's a valuable asset to the company," Kennedy insisted when Wendy first expressed concern about how much time they spent together. Wendy noticed the late-night strategy meetings, the way Kennedy's phone was suddenly password protected, the expensive perfume that wasn't hers lingering on his shirts. When her best friend Joyce pulled her aside at church one Sunday, Wendy's suspicions crystallized. "I saw them," Joyce whispered, "at Ocean Basket in Victoria Island." They weren't discussing business, Wendy. The way he looked at her. That evening, Wendy confronted Kennedy in their bedroom. "Joyce saw you with Sandra. What's going on?" Kennedy's face hardened. "Nothing is going on. Joyce is a gossip who has nothing better to do than create problems in other people's marriages. Sandra and I were discussing the Dangote contract." "You're becoming paranoid, Wendy. It's not attractive." The criticism stung. Kennedy had never spoken to her that way before. Mama Elizabeth noticed the tension. "A man who hides his phone is hiding something worse," she told Wendy one afternoon while they prepared dinner. "Watch him carefully, my daughter." Wendy did watch. She saw Kennedy become increasingly critical. Her cooking wasn't as exciting as it used to be. Her clothes were too conservative, her conversation was boring. He started comparing her unfavorably to Sandra. "Sandra understands the modern business landscape," he said one evening. "She thinks strategically. Maybe you should take some courses, update your skills." The insult was thinly veiled. Wendy said nothing, but she began documenting everything. Screenshots of suspicious messages that popped up on his laptop. Photographs of receipts she found in his pockets. Bank statements showing transfers from their joint business account to a private account she didn't recognize. 2 weeks before the Zanzibar trip, Wendy discovered the hotel reservation. 2 tickets. 2 rooms booked under Mr. and Mrs. Kennedy Badmus, except one room was registered to Sandra Williams. Kennedy announced the trip at dinner. There's a major trade expo in Zanzibar. 2 weeks. It's a huge opportunity for the business. Mama Elizabeth's eyes met Wendy's across the table. They both knew he was lying. Will Sandra be attending? Wendy asked quietly. Of course. She's our client relations officer. This is exactly the kind of exposure she needs. Kennedy didn't even look up from his phone as he answered. That night, Wendy lay awake beside her husband, listening to him sleep peacefully while her world crumbled. She had given Kennedy 12 years. She had built a business with him. She had loved him. And he was about to leave her for a woman young enough to be his daughter. Kennedy and Sandra's departure was cheerful. They left on a Monday morning, Kennedy kissing Wendy on the cheek with practiced affection. I'll call you when we land, he promised. He didn't. For the first 3 days, Wendy received occasional text messages. Busy with meetings. Talk soon. Then even those stopped. What Wendy didn't know was that Kennedy had turned off his phone completely. He and Sandra weren't at any trade expo. They were at a luxury resort on Nungwi Beach, living out a fantasy neither bothered to hide from hotel staff or other guests. Sandra posted photos to her private Instagram account. Sunset beach walks, couples spa treatments, champagne dinners under the stars. Wendy's cousin David, who followed Sandra through a fake profile, sent Wendy every single image. They're not even pretending anymore, David said when he showed Wendy the photos. I'm sorry, cuz, but you need to see this. Wendy stared at the images. Kennedy's arm around Sandra's waist. Kennedy feeding Sandra dessert. Kennedy kissing Sandra on a boat. She felt nothing. The numbness surprised her. Perhaps she'd already grieved the marriage months ago. On the 5th night of Kennedy's trip, Mama Elizabeth woke Wendy at 2 a.m. Wendy. Something's wrong. The elderly woman clutched her chest, her face contorted in pain. Wendy called the ambulance, then frantically dialed Kennedy's number. Straight to voicemail. She tried again. And again. Voicemail. She sent messages. Emergency. Your mother is very sick. Call me now. Please, Kennedy. We're at the hospital. She's critical. Kennedy, answer your phone. Nothing. At the hospital, doctors worked frantically. Massive heart attack. Critical condition. They needed family medical history, needed to make decisions quickly. Wendy tried Kennedy 17 times in 2 hours. Each call went to voicemail. She called Kennedy's brother Kenneth. I can't reach Kennedy. Mama Elizabeth is dying. Can you get through to him? Kenneth tried. Also voicemail. He blocked me last month after I questioned him about Sandra, Kenneth admitted. Wendy, what's happening to my brother? At 4:47 a.m., while Kennedy and Sandra were sleeping peacefully in their Ocean View suite, Mama Elizabeth squeezed Wendy's hand one final time. Where is Kennedy? She whispered. I thought he loved me too. He does, Mama. He's just far away. Wendy lied, tears streaming down her face. Tell him I forgive him. Mama Elizabeth's eyes closed. The monitor flatlined. Wendy collapsed over her mother's body, sobbing. She was alone. Completely alone. Kennedy finally checked his phone on day 12 of the trip. He and Sandra were having breakfast on their private balcony when he turned it on to check the time. 147 missed calls. 89 text messages. 34 WhatsApp messages. His heart stopped when he saw Kenneth's message. Mama Elizabeth is dead. She died calling for you. You weren't there. You blocked everyone. Come home and face what you've done. Oh God. Oh God, no. Kennedy's hands trembled. Sandra looked up from her coffee. What's wrong? Wendy's mother, she's dead. She died a week ago. During the heart attack. I didn't answer. I blocked them. Sandra's face paled. Kennedy. You told me your phone was off because you needed a break from work stress. You didn't tell me you blocked your wife during an emergency. I didn't know it was an emergency. Wendy always exaggerates. An old woman having a heart attack isn't an exaggeration. Sandra stood abruptly. We need to go home. Now. But Kennedy knew, even as they packed frantically, even as they booked the earliest flight, it was already too late. Mama Elizabeth's funeral happened without Kennedy. The entire community attended. Hundreds of people who had known and loved the gentlewoman. They asked Wendy one question repeatedly. Where is Kennedy? He's away, Wendy said simply. She refused to cry in public. She refused to show weakness. But privately, in her mother's empty bedroom, Wendy made a decision. Grief transformed into something harder, colder. Kennedy had made his choice. Now she would make hers. She called her cousin David. I need your help. Everything you can find on Kennedy and Sandra. Bank records, messages, photos, hotel bookings, everything. David, a tech consultant, didn't ask questions. Give me 3 days. Wendy contacted their family lawyer, Uncle Joseph. I need to know my legal rights. The business, the property, everything. Uncle Joseph reviewed their documents. Everything is jointly owned. You have as much right to the business assets as he does. In fact, as operations manager, you control most of the actual accounts. Good. Wendy's voice was ice. Prepare divorce papers. I want them ready when he returns. She called their accountant next. I need a complete audit of Badmus Global Ventures. Every transaction for the past year. What the audit revealed made Wendy's blood boil. Kennedy had embezzled 15 million Nigerian nairas from their business account over 6 months. The money went to a private account, used for luxury hotels, expensive gifts, and funding his affair with Sandra. David delivered his findings. Screenshots of intimate messages where Kennedy and Sandra mocked Wendy. Kennedy's message. Wendy has no idea. She's so focused on operations, she doesn't see what's right in front of her. Sandra's response. When are you finally going to leave her? I'm tired of being hidden. Kennedy, soon. I'm setting up a new company. You and I will run it together. Wendy can keep her little operations job. She'll be fine. Another exchange made Wendy's hands shake with rage. Sandra. Does your mother-in-law ever leave you two alone? Kennedy. Mama Elizabeth? She's harmless. Wendy won't put her in a home because she's sentimental. It's annoying, but I tolerate it. Tolerate it. He tolerated the woman who had treated him like a son. Wendy didn't cry. She planned. She transferred 20 million Nigerian nairas from the business account to a new secure account, legally hers as co-owner and operations manager. She contacted every single one of their major clients and business partners with a formal email. Important company announcement scheduled for Saturday, November 18th. Your attendance is respectfully requested. She called Pastor Emmanuel from their church. I need the church elders present at our compound this Saturday. It's about Kennedy. She contacted Sandra's parents. Mr. and Mrs. Williams, I'm Wendy Badmus. I believe you should be present at our family compound this Saturday at 2 p.m. It concerns your daughter's future. Finally, she rented a projector and screen. She compiled everything into a presentation. Dates, photos, messages, bank statements, a timeline showing exactly when Mama Elizabeth died, and when Kennedy blocked her calls. Kenneth visited her the day before Kennedy's return. Wendy, I'm so sorry. My brother has become someone I don't recognize. He's about to be recognized by everyone, Wendy said calmly. Make sure your mother is here tomorrow. She needs to see who her son really is. When Kennedy's flight landed Saturday morning, he texted Wendy. Landing now. We need to talk about Mama Elizabeth's burial. I'm bringing Sandra. We need to settle things. Wendy responded. The gate will be open. Everyone is waiting to meet you both. Kennedy thought she meant a small family gathering. He had no idea what Wendy had prepared. The taxi pulled up at 2:15 p.m. Kennedy saw the crowd and his stomach dropped. Why are there so many people? Sandra whispered. I don't know. Kennedy's voice trailed off as he saw the projector screen. The chairs arranged theater style, the grim faces of family and friends. Wendy stood at the gate in her black dress, composed and elegant. She looked like she was hosting a business presentation, not confronting her cheating husband. Welcome home, she said, her voice carrying across the silent crowd. Please don't be shy. Everyone here is eager to finally meet Sandra properly. Kennedy tried to muster authority. Wendy, this is inappropriate. Open the gate. We can discuss things privately. Privately? Wendy's laugh was bitter. You've hidden enough in private, Kennedy. Today, everything becomes public. She clicked the remote. The projector screen illuminated with a photo of Kennedy and Sandra kissing on a beach. Gasps rippled through the crowd. For those who don't know, Wendy announced, this is Sandra Williams, our former client relations officer and my husband's mistress. They've been having an affair for 8 months. Sandra's face turned crimson. Wendy, please. Please what? Please protect your dignity? Did you protect mine when you pursued a married man? Wendy advanced the slides. Hotel receipts appeared. 2.4 million Nigerian naira spent on hotels in 6 months. Next slide. Bank transfer records. 15 million Nigerian nairas embezzled from our joint business account to fund this affair. Kennedy's mother, Mama Grace, stood from her chair. Kennedy, tell me this isn't true. Kennedy couldn't speak. His throat had closed completely. Wendy continued mercilessly. Here are some of their private messages. She read aloud. Kennedy. Wendy is so clueless. By the time she realizes, we'll be gone. The crowd murmured angrily. Sandra, I'm tired of hiding. When will you leave that boring wife? Wendy's voice didn't waver. Kennedy, soon. I'm starting a new company. You and I will run it. Wendy can keep her operations job. Their business partners shifted uncomfortably. This was more than infidelity, it was fraud. But here's my favorite part, Wendy said, advancing to a timeline. This shows the last 2 weeks. November 1st. Kennedy and Sandra depart for Zanzibar. November 5th, 11:47 p.m. My mother suffers a massive heart attack. The timeline showed red dots, each one representing Wendy's attempted calls to Kennedy. 147 phone calls over 3 days. Kennedy blocked my number after the first night. He also blocked his brother Kenneth, his mother, and anyone else who might interrupt his vacation. Mama Grace's hand flew to her mouth. No, Kennedy, you didn't. November 8th, 4:47 a.m. Wendy's voice finally cracked slightly. Mama Elizabeth died. Her last words were, "Where is Kennedy? I thought he loved me too." The crowd erupted. Shouts of disgust, anger, disbelief filled the compound. Wendy played an audio recording, Kennedy's voice. Mama Elizabeth is probably faking it for attention. Wendy's mother is always dramatic about her health. I'm not cutting this trip short for another false alarm. Mama Grace screamed. She rushed to the gate, reaching through the bars to slap Kennedy's face with shocking force. You monster! You let that sweet woman die alone. You're not my son. You're not the boy I raised. Sandra tried to run to her car. Kennedy's cousins blocked her path. You stay, Wendy commanded. You wanted to be part of this family? Fine. Experience what family judgment feels like. Sandra's parents stood in the crowd, their faces twisted with shame and rage. Mrs. William pointed at her daughter. You've disgraced us. We taught you better than this. Pastor Emmanuel stepped forward. Kennedy, I married you and Wendy 12 years ago. I counseled you both. How could you do this? Kennedy finally found his voice. I made mistakes. I'm sorry. Mama Elizabeth. I didn't know it was serious. You blocked her. Wendy's composure shattered for the first time. You blocked everyone. You chose lust over family. You chose this woman over the mother who loved you. You let her die calling your name. Uncle Joseph, the lawyer, stood. Wendy has also asked me to announce that she's filing for divorce. Additionally, she's reporting Kennedy to the Business Ethics Council for embezzlement and fraud. The evidence has been submitted. Kennedy's major clients stood as one and walked out. We cannot do business with a man of such character, Mr. Adeyemi announced. Consider all our contracts terminated. Sandra's employer, Mrs. Daniel, who had attended out of curiosity, pointed at Sandra. You're fired. Effective immediately. Pack your desk Monday. Security will escort you out. Sandra burst into tears. I didn't know about the mother. Kennedy told me she was fine. He lied to me too. You knew he was married. Wendy shot back. You pursued him anyway. You mocked me in your messages. Don't play victim now. Kenneth, Kennedy's younger brother, approached the gate. He looked at Kennedy with pure disgust. You're dead to me. Don't call yourself my brother. Don't come to family gatherings. You're no longer in Badmus. The final humiliation came when Mama Grace removed her headscarf, a traditional gesture of complete disownment, and threw it at Kennedy's feet through the gate bars. I have no son named Kennedy, she declared, her voice breaking. I raised a good man. I don't know this creature standing before me. Wendy unlocked the gate finally. You can collect your personal belongings. You have 1 hour. Then you leave and never return. This compound, this business, this life, it's no longer yours. Kennedy stumbled through the gate, broken and humiliated. Sandra followed, sobbing hysterically. The crowd parted like the Red Sea, no one willing to stand near them. As Kennedy gathered his clothes in their bedroom, he saw his wedding photo with Wendy on the nightstand. 12 years ago they had been so happy. He had destroyed it all for what? For Sandra, who now refused to even look at him. When he emerged with 2 suitcases, Wendy handed him divorce papers. Sign them. Don't make this uglier than it already is. Kennedy's hand shook as he signed. Sandra waited by a taxi, her face buried in her hands. They left together, but already, the resentment between them was palpable. This wasn't love. It had never been love. It had been destruction disguised as passion. Months later, Kennedy sat in a single room in Surrey, staring at Mama Elizabeth's photograph on his phone. He looked at it every day, torturing himself with the memory of her kind smile. His life had disintegrated completely. The Business Ethics Council had blacklisted him. No company would hire him. His reputation in Lagos business circles was destroyed. When he applied for jobs, HR managers Googled his name and found articles about the public humiliation. We don't hire people of questionable character, one recruiter told him bluntly. Kennedy's bank account held 47,000 Nigerian nairas, barely enough for 2 weeks' rent. The private account where he'd hidden the embezzled money? Wendy's lawyers had frozen it. He'd have to prove in court that the money was his, which would require admitting to fraud. He chose poverty over prison. His mother refused his calls. His brother Kenneth had made it clear. You're not welcome at family functions. Mom cries every time your name is mentioned. You killed Mama Elizabeth as surely as if you'd stopped her heart yourself. The community had long memories. When Kennedy walked through the market, people pointed and whispered, "That's him. The one who abandoned his dying mother-in-law for a small girl." Churches rejected him. Landlords refused to rent to him. Former friends crossed the street to avoid him. Sandra had fled Lagos entirely, relocating to Abuja where nobody knew her story. But even there, the scandal followed. Social media had made sure of that. Her face was attached to the story of the mistress who destroyed a marriage while an old woman died. Her family had disowned her publicly. Her younger sister's engagement was called off because the groom's family didn't want association with that kind of people. Sandra sent Kennedy one final message 3 months after their public humiliation. I hope she was worth it. You destroyed both our lives for an affair that meant nothing. Don't contact me again. Kennedy had tried to stay with Sandra initially, 2 broken people clinging to the wreckage. But they blamed each other. She said he'd lied about his marriage, manipulated her, ruined her career. He said she'd seduced him, encouraged him to ignore his family, pushed him to abandon Wendy. Within 6 weeks, they couldn't stand the sight of each other. Now Kennedy lived alone with his regrets. He visited Mama Elizabeth's grave every Sunday. He'd kneel in the dirt and whisper apologies to a woman who could no longer hear them. I'm sorry, Mama. I'm so sorry. You loved me like a son. You never judged me. You welcomed me. And I let you die alone. The headstone offered no comfort, just his own voice echoing back. Wendy, meanwhile, had rebuilt beautifully. Using Mama Elizabeth's insurance payout and her legal share of the business assets, she'd launched Mama Elizabeth Global Exports, a tribute to her mother and a fresh start. The business was thriving. Former clients who'd abandoned Kennedy came to Wendy, impressed by her integrity and professionalism. We always knew you were the brains behind Badmus Global. Mr. Adeyemi told her at a networking event. Kennedy was just the face. You were the foundation. Wendy had emerged from the scandal as a sympathetic figure, the faithful wife betrayed while caring for her dying mother. The community rallied around her. Women's groups invited her to speak about resilience. Churches celebrated her strength. She'd lost weight, updated her wardrobe, started attending business conferences. Men approached her with interest, but she politely declined. I'm focused on building something lasting, she'd say with a gracious smile. One Saturday evening, Kennedy saw Wendy at a business gala at Eco Hotel. He'd crashed the event, hoping to network, desperate for any opportunity. Wendy stood across the room in a stunning emerald dress, laughing with potential investors. She looked radiant, happy, free. Kennedy gathered his courage and approached. Wendy, can we talk? She turned and for a moment, he saw something flicker in her eyes. Not love, not even hate, just nothing. There's nothing to discuss, Kennedy. Her voice was polite but distant, as if speaking to a stranger. I'm sorry. I know I've said it before, but I need you to know. Your apology doesn't change anything. Mama is still dead. You were still unreachable. The betrayal still happened. She sipped her wine calmly. I've moved on. I suggest you do the same. I've lost everything, Wendy. My family, my business, my reputation. You didn't lose it, Kennedy. You threw it away. There's a difference. She signaled to her business associate. Excuse me. I have actual work to do. She walked away without looking back. Kennedy stood frozen in the middle of the glittering ballroom, invisible and irrelevant. He realized with crushing clarity, Wendy hadn't just left him. She'd erased him. He was a ghost haunting his own former life. Security approached. Sir, this is an invitation-only event. Do you have your credentials? Kennedy didn't. He'd snuck in. He was escorted out quietly while Wendy continued her conversation, never once glancing his way. Outside in the parking lot, Kennedy sat on a concrete barrier and finally cried deep, shaking sobs for everything he'd destroyed. Mama Elizabeth's voice echoed in his memory. You found a good woman in Wendy. Don't take her for granted, my son. He had taken her for granted. He had taken everything for granted. And now, sitting alone in the darkness while the gala lights sparkled inside, Kennedy understood the full price of his choices. Some mistakes don't just hurt. They obliterate. They leave nothing but ashes and regret. Kennedy pulled out his phone and looked at Mama Elizabeth's photo one more time. I'm sorry, Mama. I'm sorry for everything. But sorry was just a word. It couldn't bring her back. It couldn't restore his marriage. It couldn't rebuild the life he'd demolished with his own hands. Kennedy returned with his mistress from vacation, but he could never return to the man he used to be, the life he'd once had, or the family that had loved him. Wendy had locked the gate that day, and it would remain locked forever. Thank you for staying with me to the end. Comment your thoughts on the betrayal, and tell me where you are watching from. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more gripping stories like this. What do you think happens next? Comment below.